Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rowdy.com Big Three. You might wonder what we're doing on my porch.
Hanging out.
In these Adirondack chairs. The power is out at our Rowdy World headquarters, so we're forced to abandon ship and come over here, but we're still going to talk about the All-Star race. In the end, we had us a little wreck fest, and of course, the signature wreck, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin. Kyle was PIST livid and went right to Denny's hauler after the race. My question to you, sir, is, well, did he have anything to be mad about?
I guess he had something to be mad about, but this is the All-Star race, and the guys go flat out. I mean, it may have been different if this was the 600, but I don't think Kyle had anything to be that angry about. It's the All-Star race.
We've seen Kyle get mad before. Remember Michigan and Brian Vickers in the Nationwide Series, and it was kind of like, I could have won that race if he just worked with me. And in a way, I almost got that feeling from Kyle this time. I had this race won. He saw the path to winning this race, and it was taken away from him by Denny Hamlin. But Denny Hamlin didn't do anything wrong. You know why? Because Denny Hamlin wasn't trying to help Kyle Busch win the race. Denny Hamlin was trying to win the race himself. And in the All-Star race, I think it's pretty hard, unless a guy takes a blatant cheap shot at somebody else, it's pretty hard to fault anybody with moves they make out on the racetrack at the All-Star race.
I mean, several drivers flat out said, I'm going to knock guys out of the way on my way to victory lane.
I'm going to drive like an idiot, is what Carl Edwards said leading into the race. So I just don't think you can say that Denny did anything wrong there.
Next issue,
you look at some of the guys who were fast there, and you have to wonder, does it translate to the 600? Kurt Busch's car was absolutely right on at the end of that race. Does this make him a favorite for the 600?
I think that's the question you ask, and I don't know that I have the answer, because I'm sitting here thinking, obviously it's good for Kurt Busch that he performed well at Charlotte, but on short runs, 600 is all about long runs. So I'm going to say, yeah, it's good for Kurt Busch, but I don't think it necessarily means the guy is a lock to have a top 5 there. I don't think so.
I think it bodes very, very well for Kurt Busch and Martin Truex Jr. in the 600, especially Kurt Busch, because I agree with you. The 600 is a long race. It's a long run race, unlike the All-Star race, which is a bunch of short runs and a short race altogether and a dash at the end. But when you think about how the 600 might end next Sunday night, it's going to be night, and we could have a late caution and a mad dash to the finish. Now we know that Kurt Busch is going to have a fast car, ought to have a fast car at the end there. So I think it bodes pretty well for those guys, because if you can keep your track position during the race, stay towards the front during the race, I think that's going to be big all night long. You're going to have a fast car at the end there if you're that 2 car and the 18 and the 48. The 11's not going to be bad either. All right, next issue. I think we had one wrinkle in this race that was pretty significant. Now, if you look at the way the race was going, track position pretty big, but Jimmy Johnson seemed to be clearly the best car. But when he got beat off pit road during the new mandatory 4-tire stop at the end of the race, it changed everything. That was a pretty important wrinkle there.
It was a very important wrinkle. It was the entire race. My question to you, Bassmaster, is it too tricked up? I mean, should we just have started the race with right there? Because that's really when the race began.
What do you mean, is it too tricked up?
Is it too tricked up to do a mandatory 4-tire stop at the end of the race, rather than let the guys...
You mean a race that has like 4 segments and is cut up? One of the segments has a mandatory stop in the middle, and then there's a 10-minute break? Are you asking if something's too tricked up?
Is your answer no?
The race is a trick. The whole point of the race is tricked up. I'll tell you what it is, the mandatory green flag pit stop. It's a better version of what we used to do, which was the inversion. The inversion was like, okay, we'll put the fast guys in the back and the slow guys in the front, and that'll create the dynamic that will inspire some good racing at the end of the race. The problem is people immediately would start to game that system and say, well, I don't want to be in front because I'm just going to get put in the back. Then they made it random. Well, we'll draw a certain number so guys couldn't game it so much. But this is a much better way to kind of shake things up at the end of the race. It's more natural. It's more like the races that we're used to seeing. So I like the mandatory pit stop there. I'm sure there are some other wrinkles. We'll have to think about some other wrinkles.
Every year there's a new wrinkle.
There.
Every year.
I thought, that saved the race, basically, is what it amounts to. All right, that's been your Rowdy.com Big Three from my porch. For Buck Fever, I'm Bass Masters. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully from our regular digs.
From the Rowdy HQ.
It's bad out here.
No, there's lots of birds' nests here,
Although Buck let my dog out. Thank you.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.